Okay, so welcome back to these questions that I'm doing for the higher grade 7 to 9 GCSE mini test 1. So we're currently taking a look at question 8, which is asking us to calculate the total distance travelled. And to work that out, you can already see that I've drawn this little triangle here, which is your best friend if you have a speed, distance and time question, okay? So to work out the distance, what we do is cover the D. So therefore that means we've got speed and time, and we're going to be multiplying that together, okay? If we had to be working out speed or time, which is below D, then what we just do is cover that particular parameter, okay? And how this works is that you'll just be doing D divided by T, because this line here is a division line, okay? So now to actually go ahead and work out distance, so I'm just going to write down that. So to work out D, what we'll be doing is speed times by time, okay? So there are two ways in which we can work out the area of the shape, okay? We can see it's a trapezium, okay? Some people can spot that, and that's great. We can use the area of the, we can use the formula for the area of a trapezium, okay, to work this out. So method number 1 is how you can do it using the area of a trapezium, okay? Now the area of a trapezium is as follows. Let me know in the comments, pause the video if you remember it, and yeah, I'll take your word for it that you actually did remember it. Okay, so area of trapezium is as follows: half brackets a plus b times by the height. Now the height in this scenario is not just any height, it's the perpendicular height, okay? Keyword here, perpendicular, which means when the base and the height base and the height, hard to show here, meets at a right angle, okay? So that is perpendicular height. When the base and height meet at a right angle. So that's what I mean by that, okay? So I will just show you all of that in a bit. So now going back to my diagram and actually finding A and B and those heights, then we can work this out, okay? So I'll put in that, and now we'll go ahead and work out the 3 values that we need, okay? So going back to here, so A and B are just going to be my parallel lengths, okay, or my parallel widths. So A and B can be in any order. It's not particular that the top one has to be A or the bottom width has to be A, okay? So I could make this A, and I could make this bottom width my B, okay? It really doesn't matter, you can switch it around, because remember, all we're doing is adding them, and addition is not bound to any order. You can do 6 plus 7, or you can do 7 plus 6, and you get the same answer, okay? So now is our time to actually work out what A is and what B is. So if I look at A, it's going from 30 to 90, okay? So this point is 30, this is 90, so I can just do 90 subtract 30, okay, which gives me 60. So that means my A is going to be 60, okay? And then working out B is going all the way from 0 up until 130. So that's just going to be, you know, straight up 130, okay? From 30 seconds. So I'll put that in, and then it's a case of working out my perpendicular height, okay? So remember what I mentioned, perpendicular height is the height that meets the base at 90 degrees. So this is my base B, and the height is these dotted lines that you can see they've already drawn for us. If they weren't there, you can still just draw, you know, a line, a dotted one if you wanted, or a solid one, down, and just see the length or the height, sorry, of your trapezium, okay? So don't be afraid to go in your diagram and do additional marks, drawings, sketches, etc. So the trapezium is here, and this is my dotted line, so I'm just trying to work out the height. So here they've already, you know, been nice and put it up there, it's 20, so I don't have to do much. I'll just do times by 20 here, and that's it. I've got all the details that I needed okay, for my working out. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually work this out. So let's split it up and first do our addition. So 60 plus 130, okay, gives us 190. And I'm still multiplying that by 20. Now there's multiple ways I can go ahead and simplify this, but what I'll do to make our life easier, because we have multiplication as well as division, I'm just going to cancel the 20 with the 2, because eventually we are going to half our answer. So why not just half it first and then multiply it with my what's in my brackets. Okay, so if I half the 20, that means I've got 10, so that means I've got 190 times by 10, okay, which is equal to 1,900. Okay, and we are working out distance, so I need to know what my units are going to be. Really important. So remember, units it will be somewhere in the question given. So speed is meters per second, so therefore distance is going to be meters. Okay, so that is my answer for the method 1. And just an important note, so ways which we could do this is we can do it like this, or another way which we can simplify it, unless you know somebody was wondering, is if I just bring that here, half 190 times by 20. So just going to put a bubble around this writing so as to not confuse us. Another way which we can do this is if I just did half of 190 first, then multiplied by 20, okay? Or if I did 190 times by 20 first and then halved it, okay? So I'm just going to do half of 190. So try and just see in your head before you actually do the calculation which method is a bit easier in terms of calculating, okay? Usually this will be a non-calculator paper. So I can see that if I did 190, half of that, that will be 95. Okay, so that means I've got 95 and then times by 20, which gives us, then we're going to go ahead and double 95. Okay, but also be adding a 0 at the end, because we have multiplying by 20. So then if I just go ahead and do 95 times by 20, so if I did times by 2 first, you can see that I'll be getting the 190 again, but then add another 0 because it's 20. Okay, so same answer again, but just the slightly different working out. Okay, so you can see now that this one was slightly easier in that sense, but that's just to show you the other way. Method number 2, where we split our shape up into 3 different shapes. Okay, so we'll go ahead and work out the 3 different shapes. So 1 and 3 are triangles. Okay, these 2 shapes, and they are not identical. They're not the same triangle, so we have to treat them differently. You can see that already with their bases. It's not the same width. So if I go ahead and choose shape 1, okay, which if I look at the area of a triangle, is going to be equal to, so the base is 30, perpendicular height is going to be 20 again. So half base is 30 times by perpendicular height, which is 20. So calculating this, again, we can do it many ways. So I'll just do the multiplication bit first, then half it. So 30 times by 20 gives us, so if we just do 3 times by 2 is 6, add the 2 zeros, it's 600, and then still dividing by 2 in the end, which gives me 300. Okay, and again it is meters for that triangle. And then if I go ahead and look at shape number 2, so number 2 was area of a square. That was shape number 2. So area of my square is over here, so that means it's just, is it even a square or rectangle? Sorry, it's a rectangle. So the width of this rectangle is 90 minus 30, which is 60, and the height or the length is again 20. So it's actually not a square, it's a rectangle. My bad, they're not equal lengths. So that means it's just going to be base times by height. So that is 60, which is my width, okay, or my base. times by my 20, which is my height or my length. So 60 times by 20, we can just do 6 times by 2, which is 12, and add the 2 zeros, 1200, and it is again meters. And then finally, I should be having my shape number 3, which is area of triangle again. Okay, but a different triangle. So let's look at the formula. It is half base times by height. Let's look at those things. So 90 to 130, the base is going to be 40. Okay, 130 minus 90 gets us 40. And then the height, okay, is again 20. So my base is going to be 40. So it's half times by 40 times by my height, which is 20. So the height was 20 for all of them. Okay. Equals, so let's do what's in my brackets first. 40 times by 20. Again, we can just do 4 times 2 is 8. Stick the 2 zeros on at the end. That's the good thing about multiplying with powers of 10. And then divide that by 2. So that gives me 80. Not 80. 800 divided by 2 is 400. Okay. Meters again. So the last thing that we do, we don't leave it here, okay, to work out our final answer. So I'm going to write in not capitals, but just big. Final answer, add them all together. So 400 plus 300 plus 1200. Okay, so that means what we do is 400 plus my 300 plus my 1200. Okay, any ideas what that's going to be? Let me know in the comments. So 400 plus 300 is 700, plus 1200 again gives us our 1900 or 1900 meters. And there we have it, guys. So it's the same answer that we got, okay, for the distance over there. 2 different methods. Let me know how that went for you, and if you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. And also follow my page on TikTok, as well as subscribe on YouTube for more videos. See you in the next one.